Hello, welcome to our Business Compact series. Today we want to talk about startup investments. We're here with Guenter Schmittberger. Welcome. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you very much, Mario. Well, my name is Günter, and I am born as one of 4 children in the rural area of Germany. I went to a boarding school, and after that, I studied mathematics and psychology in Berlin. So a rural guy came to a big city in Germany, the biggest one, of course. After my studies, I joined an IT company in Berlin and jumped into a consulting business for maintenance management, mainly in the process industry, petrochemicals, chemicals, pharmaceutical industries. I learned from studies in psychology that having a diverse team is a driver for innovation. And we developed a concept how we could develop best-of-breed software, bridging the gaps between the different branches of a company. In fact, I had no idea about maintenance management, and our clients had much more experience than I in each and every subject. But I learned that being a catalyst can help them speak to each other. And that was everything that I had to do. Invite them to talk to each other. Listen to the others, think about how the others think. And this was a beautiful experience. After 1.5 decades, I left the company, founded my own company and sold software to the world's largest chemical plant. This was a quite new kind of business because everything was based on success fee only. But after a while, I was very successful and I traveled all day to the company in and out. And after a while, I knew them maybe better than they knew themselves. And it was boring after 4 years. And I met people from the former Stanford Business Club of France. Those guys studied in Silicon Valley and learned that we had nothing similar in Europe. And we tried to develop something like an ecosystem for innovation in Europe. And I joined the Business Angels Club in Berlin. I did some own investments, and it was a quite interesting experience. For example, I helped some startups, some spin-offs from Electronic, raise money in Europe. I helped others that I met in Berlin, and I did a couple of own business angel investments. Not all of them have been a success. I struggled with one, and I learned that greed is not a good for your own experience. So after a while, I joined a consulting company, some consulting boutique in Berlin, and helped them focus on a specific topic, managing this huge shutdown and turnaround management of refineries or other huge physical assets. They do this quite well around the globe now. After 1.5 decades again that I worked for the company, I retired 4 years. Oh God, it is already 4 years. I retired 4 years ago and thought I can do better than only play golf. By the way, the company is now sold to Accenture. And one of my former startups where I was a co-founder is now part of Siemens. Yeah, that's it so far. And now I'm again full-time booked with fundraising for many, many different kind of startups. And I love the idea of focusing on impact investing. Impact on the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and to maximize my own impact for a better future.
Thank you very much, Günter. To learn from your experience, The disruptions in the market and macroeconomic challenges lately led to a decline in venture capital investments. What is your point of view on startup investments in 2023?
Well, there have been some challenges like the pandemic and recently the war of Russia in Ukraine. And of course, this is a huge risk for world economy, as well as the major focus on own developments in different countries, giving more room for the right-wing parties and so on. But on the other hand side, there are more and more people who know that we need to work together. And that people who know that an investment in topics like artificial intelligence, like all kind of science-based topics, investment in all kind of giving people a better life, giving them a living in the development countries, for example, is a necessity. So I believe the first shock is over, and investments will grow again. In Africa, for example, even last year, the investments in startups grew a little bit compared to the year before. Not as much as before, but it's still growing. And more investors realize that emerging countries and frontier countries are the next China in some way.
So despite these short-term challenges, there are several long-term trends that suggest optimism for investors. You already mentioned some. So which industries and which industry trends shall we closely watch, in your opinion, and why to watch them?
Well, we need, of course, a transition of our power industry. The world needs a lot of power, and we cannot stay on fossil fuels because fossil fuels are destroying our life, destroy biodiversity, and destroy humanity. So there is no alternative. Everything that can help us to create a circular economy, create a more sustainable future, will be a trend and will be a good chance to invest. And the reason is quite simple, because if you are not sustainable, you will not find any investor in a few years. Even the big ones like BlackRock don't want to invest anymore into fossil fuels.
Thank you, Günter. So this already leads us to an important topic, impact investment. It is gaining much more importance. So how do you see its potential for the society in the future?
There is no alternative. Absolutely no alternative. In fact, at the moment, we have a lot of discussion about what is impact investment. And of course, every investment and every company has impact. But we have to be aware that there is a positive impact and there is a negative impact. But we have to discuss what we mean with a positive impact and what do we mean with a negative impact. For example, I use the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations as one of the measures. ESG investments is another measurement. But at the moment, we have a lot of whitewashing in the market, and we have to be careful. Last summer, even a huge German bank had a problem with a whistleblower. She was forced to leave the company because he showed their whitewashing with ESG investments. And she was responsible for this topic. So it shows you that we have a long way to go until we can overcome these challenges and have a really clear reporting on impact investing. Impact investing is important for the enterprises, and it is important for the investor. And if you have funds, it is even more complex and even more difficult. But nevertheless, it is important that we know what our money is doing. And if it is helping us to create a better future, not for some people, those who have the money today, but for all of us, that's important.
Having accompanied dozens of successful investment rounds, what do you think differentiates an excellent startup?
Well, excellence is very close to the persons who are involved in the startup. To grow to a big company, you need all kinds of competencies that cannot be in one person alone. So you need a brilliant staff. You need a brilliant founding team. The founder should be able to listen, and especially they should be able to listen to their clients, because clients are the ones who have the problems that you want to solve. And the quality of client orientation is a very important quality of a company. You also should be able to develop a culture where each and every employer thinks and works the same direction. That implies that there is at least some freedom of thinking. You need to trust your employees. You need to give them the freedom to bring everything that they know and that they can to help the company thrive. And therefore, you as a company should develop a culture where it is important for every employee to thrive. So to have an environment where everybody can grow to the best of him or herself. And that is a big difference against the hierarchical structures that we had in the past. So any excellent startup must be able to communicate, to develop great open communication culture, and show that they are open in communication with their stakeholders, all stakeholders. I haven't met a lot of startups who are able to report to their stakeholders in the best way. So I, for example, work with an American-based company who is focusing on just that. They are standardizing the process of communication between startups and their stakeholders. Stakeholders in this sense are not only their existing investors, it includes also their employees, it includes their customers, it includes every society where they have a kind of impact. And therefore, a company owner knows, or a team knows, that they have to include external knowledge. Then this is very helpful, because you need not to do everything on your own. You have to focus on your specific experience and topics and work together with the best partners you can find. Today, it's no problem to build a relationship around the globe. So you have to be open to value diversity, each and every kind of diversity. Diversity of sex, of course, men, women, or between, diversity of age, diversity of color, diversity of culture, diversity of religion. If you can manage all that, you have a big chance to grow up to a worldwide company.
Thank you for sharing your insights, Günter. To close, how would you describe startup investments in 3 words?
The chance to grow.
Thank you, Günter.
Thank you, Mario. It was a pleasure meeting you.